All right, we are live, Matt. Make sure you mind your P's and Q's, my dad
Yeah,
used to say.
Dave and I were just chatting backstage, and I think he's trying to get me canceled.
No.
By me saying stuff. Dave's an angel as always. It's just me. That's the
No,
one
I
that's
might get canceled. Jeez. It's cancel culture.
Yeah.
So
How are things, man?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll probably let you have because I haven't talked to you I haven't really talked to you legit in a while, other than on Discord, right? So but then again, we had an audience, so I'm sure you're just, doing your typical Matt stuff.
Living the dream, man. Living the dream.
Living the dream. So why don't you, because I don't, I've been out of the scene for quite a while. I just, what's going on with your investments? I'm pretty sure you broke the $1 million now. I don't know if that's letting the cat out of the bag or not, right? Because, I mean, people can put two and two together, I'm sure.
The cat's out of the bag, Dave. Damn it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, it was actually pretty funny. So, yeah, I don't know when that happened. It's been a while. But I remember waking up, and you probably told me this before it ever happened, but you're like, you wake up and it's just like any other day, right? And you're just like,
exactly.
You're like, well, okay, still got to go to work, still got to, and you're like, you start to realize, like, people talk about like $1 million isn't a lot of money. It's like $1 million is a lot of money, but at the same time, it's not a lot of money. It's really all just depending upon, where you're at and what you're doing with it. But to me, I almost looked at it like, when you go through like the life cycle where you're like, oh, I'm in middle school now, so I'm gonna be in high school next year, and then you get to college, you're like, oh, I'm in college. It's like
except you're a freshman, right, of middle school. You're a freshman of high school.
Exactly. So it's like
almost you're a freshman of a millionaires.
It's the same thing. So it's like you get there and you're like, shit. Like now your next goal is to go from 7 figures to 8 figures, right? And I probably won't ever get there, but the hope is that you maybe will. And so it's kind of the thought process of the same thing. It's like, okay, well, I'm just starting over again, basically, to get to the next level of where I guess, I could be a millionaire next door and just only invest in dividend stocks and, get that. But we'll probably get into it. And you probably saw inklings of that, before you went on your hiatus last year, but a lot of movements into slightly more speculative plays, like in taking on a little bit more risk, but also getting rid of some of the laggard positions that are probably more mature businesses that I could probably cover just by owning SPY, so we're kind of alike in that sense.
Well, before we dive into that, why don't we continue on what we're talking about here, because you're how old now, if you don't mind sharing? You're 30 something, right?
My 32 or 33. I'm one of the two.
Don't ask me. I don't know.
1991. Whether that's old or young, I don't know.
Did you already have a birthday? You already had a birthday this year?
Yeah, so I think I'm 32.
32. Okay, so that's and you hit the number last year, if I'm probably right. So. Yeah, you hit the number last year. So you're 31 years old, man.
Yeah.
I had a net worth of 0 at 35. Okay. So I mean, I had a lot of.
You were also way better looking. So I mean, I have to make up for it, right?
Money doesn't matter if what color you are, or whether you're man, woman, he, thee, she, they, whatever. It doesn't matter.
It's a new world, Dave. New world.
So I think it was Grant Cardone that said, he was walking through his office, because he's got a pep in his step, because that's Grant Cardone. And he was like, he mentioned one day, he's like, yeah, you single digit millionaires, like one lawsuit, you're just one lawsuit away from being bankrupt, like, so it was all about the 8 figures, like you said. So I think it's definitely possible, right? So if you just double your portfolio to 2, right, and then you double that again to 4, and you're literally going to be at 8, definitely by the time you're probably 65, right. If not even sooner, right? Because you're still working. And I think I talked to you, it was a couple years ago, about like you were so hell bent on just kind of retiring, going off and some other country, right? And whatever, doing what guys do. And
That was pre-trail, Dave. That was when no matter what you did and what option you sold, you made money.
that's
So
very true, because the
yeah,
market just went up and then we just bought them back right away. But the point I was trying to make is you're still working, you're getting paid good, right? If anything, the older you get, the more your salary should go up, right? For me, I mean, I'm pretty much almost, obviously I'm going to get increases, for the next how many years I work, but I'm at the senior level of my type of job, right? So quitting now, like I'm going to miss out on a huge amount of money, right? So you can still stick it out for another 20 or 40. You know what I mean? Like is that hard to do? No, right?
yeah. I mean, you and I talked about that. You were like straight up, and I'm starting to see my friends get to a place where they're really starting to get concerned about money and stuff like that. But I remember having that conversation with you 2 years ago or something like that. Everything we did made money, right? And we were kind of walking on clouds at that point. And I was like, Dave, I know you're thinking about hanging it up next year. This was in 2021, talking about 2022. And I was like, why am I not moving to Thailand? Why am I not moving? I was like, I could do this full time, right? I could do YouTube. And at the time I was making a couple $100 on YouTube. I was doing some sponsorship videos, and the options income was making, I was making 5 figures a month, some months. And then the exact opposite happened in 2022. But the thought process is like, if I was a slightly conservative on I think at the time I was probably 800, 900,000, trekking towards $1 million. I was like, if I'm just slightly conservative, and live in a cheaper cost of living area, like I don't understand why I wouldn't. And over time, the portfolio would do what it does, and I'll end up being able to retire. But you were like, at least you were like, check in at 35. You're like, you're young, you're still working. And I agreed with that. And I think that was wise advice, because, and you could, I don't want to speak and put words in your mouth, but, being 31 years old, if I were to have retired, who else would have been around to do stuff with? I'd either be doing stuff full time on YouTube and quote, another thing that I always talk about with Ryan or many other people, it's like, I'll never fully retire. I'm just going to be switching
Right.
careers or doing something. Even if I were to retire from working in oil and gas at UDOC, undisclosed oil and gas company, I'll probably start a real estate business to much of your displeasure, because I know you continue to try to talk me out of that. But the career would just change, right?
Yeah, it definitely would. I mean, we can talk about your real estate a little bit later. We can talk about your Grant Cardone, your other investments, but it took me 7 years to get the $1 million. It took me 5 to hit the 2. So 5 past that, right? And I don't see myself doubling to 4 in 5 either, though, right? Because I don't know if for you, it probably hasn't set in yet, but you're not in capital preservation mode, right? You're probably like still in growth mode, and I'm back to growth mode. So, I don't even know if
Are
I
you
had
saying back to growth because you're back in 9 to 5, or because you're back into SPY, or both?
I think it's because I have a 9 to 5. I can let it ride, and I think I read a document. I can't remember who it was from. I can source the document down in the description at some point, but saying we're on a bull market from 2016, and they project it to be out to 2033 with a 10,000 target on the SPY or the SP 500. So that's substantial.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. By the way, I don't disregard that.
Yeah. So I mean, the 10 million thing, like I was like, I'm like, I mean, obviously it's a goal of ours to, even if we retire and we're fired, right, and retired, just living the good life, whatever, to try to increase our portfolios, right? I mean, you're gonna die more, but I mean, unless you're one of those people that wants to die with nothing, but
I think I'll end up. What I've started to kind of realize is like, I'm okay starting to get a little bit more spendy and not save as much. And I think eventually I'll end up requiring more and growing. But, I think having a little bit more luxury in life for me at this point, I've seen a lot of people die over the past 2 years. I've seen a lot of people, unfortunately, live way shorter lives than expected. And I've also seen people live their lives, and it's nice to kind of come up for a breath of air now that I'm 32. I'm still really young, but see how well off I am compared to a lot of my friends and peers within my own organization and just the people that I've grown up with, to the point where it's like they literally know diddly squat. And that's not a hit on them. I think a lot of the stuff that I've kind of taught and talked about with you quite a bit is just a lot of that's just self-research and being curious about it and diving deep and making a lot of mistakes. I mean, I can't tell you how many hundreds of thousands of dollars I've probably lost by investing in stupid shit. And you can probably say the same.
We all do that, but
yeah,
as long as it's net positive that you've gained, over the years, it's better you losing the money than somebody else, right?
Right.
Like Edwards Jones or something.
Right.
So, I mean, have you thought about your allocation towards real estate? Like, my notes, I'm down to 2 left at this point. So it's rather only about 10% of my worth at this point, right? Like, it's not a big substantial portion like it was a few years ago, So, I mean, you're kind of, are you going like 50-50? Or are you doing like 60-40? Or what are you up to?
Where am I at? That's a good question. Let me see. I've sold out of some of the REITs.
Yeah, REITs don't count.
Okay.
No, they probably do. But I mean, we're talking about more traditional real estate.
I mean, so I bought a house. That's where I'm recording this now or streaming from this now. I have the rental property that I have in New Jersey, but I own that, 50-50 with somebody else. So
you plan on buying another one?
Yeah, that has been the Airbnb thing has been way more lucrative than I anticipated it was going to be. And that wasn't something that was planned. That was something we stumbled into. And that's actually a very funny story. So this is last year. I wanted, I've been itching for a rental or something for some time, and I've just never found the right one. And my buddy calls me one day. He's like, hey, I'm down here at the beach, and this is New Jersey. And he said, there's this house that I stayed in before last year, and it's up for sale. And he sends it to me, and he's just like, it's got the income in the description. And he's like, and I just was curious, like, if you could run some numbers really quick. And I'm like, this guy's either swindling the shit out of us and like it's not real, or, of course the gross number, that's before cleaning fees, that's before, you hire people to do maintenance on the house, the turnover, the mortgage, so I'm just sitting there being like, I mean, even at this price, with that sort of gross income that you're getting from the property, it was going to turn over and you basically get a free house and then a little bit of cash flow every month. So I was like, worst case scenario, this guy's lying and it's not nearly as good. I was like, but I don't understand how you wouldn't at least break even. And then at this point you have a free beach house that you can use. Right. So, bought it, and here we are after expenses and everything like that. If you were to just say what the net operating income pre-mortgage is, we've probably cleared a shit ton. I mean, it's the cash on cash for what we put into it. We only put 10% down, but the cash on cash, if you were to exclude the mortgage, which obviously is an important piece, but like just talking about if you were to own this thing free and clear, like what's the cap rate that you would get? It's probably 11 or 12%. Granted,
pretty good.
Granted, you're hustling, right?
Yeah.
And you're turning it over and stuff like that, but that's a starting point. And
what
so
would be pro forma?
We're probably only making. We're walking away at the end of this year with like between 15 and 20 grand in cash. The mortgage for the year is about mortgage and insurance and everything like that. Property tax is like 36 a year. So we're kind of walking away with like 15 to 20 in pocket. So that's probably about a 30% return on our cash. So we're pretty excited about that. And we're making some small things here and there, and we've upgraded a few things this year. So if you were to exclude some of that stuff, it'd probably be approaching 30 to 35% pretty easily. And that's actually cash back in pocket, because I think the down payment, the house is like 400, 410 or something like that. So we had to come out of pocket for closing, and I think we had to all walk into the table at like 55 or something like that. So the fact that we're walking away with 15 to 20 grand at the end of the year is pretty good. And the
If
fact
you
that
pay outright for the house, what would you pocket?
it would be, so I guess we can.
So is that 30% on 400 grand?
No, that's 30% on what we put into the house. So just the 50 something grand that we put into the house. So that's like, I'm just saying like 17 and a half. If you take that from 54, right? That's about a 30%, right? It's nothing too crazy. But if you were to say like, what is exactly you're getting based off the cost of the house, you're getting, let's just say 17.5 divided by 410 is what we paid. So it's like 4%, but that's not including the mortgage pay down and stuff like that, right? So
I was saying, if I paid cash for the house, what would I bring home, I guess?
Yeah, so that's kind of what I was trying to get to. So the mortgage is like 36, and then we'll end up walking away with 17 in cash. So it's like 50 to 55,000 in actual like money that you get from a net operating income perspective. And we paid about 410 for the house. So that's the 13% cap rate that you'd probably get.
13%. I mean, that's good, but it's not.
It's not, I mean, passive.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, he's got a good amount of expenses you can offset that with, but and it actually probably makes more sense to actually have a mortgage on it too, because that way you can actually deduct the interest.
Yeah, so we're kind of excited because we're looking to, eventually, because we're pocketing this 15, 12, 20 grand. We're not distributing it. We'll obviously have to pay some taxes, but we're hoping that every couple of years that allows us to put another down payment on another house. So that's kind of the hope is, every few years we're able to come out of pocket 50%, use the capital from the other house 50%, and kind of get us to a place where we buy another house. But we also want to make sure we have about 6 months of reserves. So the mortgage is about $3,000 a month, including property taxes and everything. So we kind of want to have about 18 in the bank. So
any issues with any hurricanes running through there?
No hurricanes. We did have some people that it looked like they took a hammer to a door. So we had to get them, they sent us a picture. They're like, what do you want us to do? It was like, pay for the door. I don't know. We've had some issues with the washer and dryer going down. So we fixed that in a pretty quick turnaround. So we got a brand new washer dryer. We're going to paint this winter. What else did we kind of do? Some just small stuff where we're just making some initial upkeep to make it a little bit easier for us in the long run. But we're pretty excited about it.
So you and I had talked about on Discord when we were talking about this, because there's a lot of cities that are cracking down on short-term rentals. A ton of regulation is coming down in a lot of different cities because there's no places for people to buy, to live. So it's causing a lot of issues. And Seattle's a good example. And there's some when I was driving out of Seattle a couple years ago, there was a couple of small little cities a ways that were talking about it and whatnot. And did you see any issues you see any issues like that? Because if you go back to a traditional rent, it'll probably be a loss every year is my guess.
Yeah. No, yeah, it would be. It for sure would be. But at the moment, there's no real talks of Airbnb becoming kind of obsolete. This specific town doesn't really have any hotels or anything like that. So, a lot of people operate off of, and a lot of people in New Jersey operate off of, specifically Southern New Jersey, operate off of rentals. So it'd be a huge hit to, a lot of people's ability to own real estate down there. And it would cause a huge sell-off, I think, in a lot of real estate because a lot of people rent that out. But that being said, there's some companies that are probably large enough where it wouldn't be Airbnb. They would have their own business that might be able to allow them to kind of do 30-day rentals or something like that to be able to get past short term, because I think short term is considered anything less than 30 days. So they might have somebody that is big enough in the seasonal rental space where you rent it out for 4 or 5 months at a time. And they might be willing to kind of crack down on it, but we haven't heard anything as of yet. So,
yeah. Okay. Well, that's, the other thing is it seems like to me, because I had run across somebody on Bigger Pockets, 5 years ago or something like that. And he was talking about, I'm financially independent at this point, whatever. And he's, I only got, 10 homes or something like that. And he didn't tell me what he was doing, but his return was crazy every year. I'm like, that's like impossible to do with a rental. Like, I don't know how he's doing it, and I suspected he was doing something like Airbnb, VRBO or something like that. So
that's not passive, like,
well, neither are rentals.
Yeah.
So I would almost say that a rental is less passive in a way, because you're actually having a cleaning crew go in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of, when I'm renting a house out, I don't have any chance to, if they're in there for 2 or 3 or 4 years, you don't want going in there and expecting anything, right? So when they move out, there's a lot of stuff you got to do. In this case here, people are saying 1 or 2 days. How much damage can they do? And those people are going to catch it right away, right? Versus having it just kind of people hiding it,
Right.
I think you can keep tabs on it better.
You can, yeah. And I mean, there's a middleman that they take, that's part of the problem is like these middlemen, like Airbnb is a very profitable business, and same with VRBO. VRBO doesn't charge nearly as much in fees, but overall, they're both very profitable businesses because they are that middleman and they do offer, the insurance aspect of things if things go wrong. So, there's pluses and minuses for sure. So if somebody does trash the house, I could just claim it on Airbnb and it gets kind of taken care of, right? Versus, if you don't and you're just kind of renting on your own, you kind of have to go through your own legal processes, which is a pain in the ass.
Right.
So,
but it's more, I would say, I mean, do you have like locks on there where you don't need to provide keys and all that? It's just a key code. It uses their, you know what I mean? Like I've used some stuff like that and they just said, it's your last 4 digits of your phone number or something like that, And so when you say it's not passive, what are you referring to?
I mean, it's pretty easy. I mean, you still have to converse with people every time they sign up on the app, and check in with them. You could be very passive about it, but to me, I like to just say, hey, there's automated messaging and everything like that for Airbnb, which makes it very simple. So like the very, I guess, tedious part of like, this is the check-in instructions and all that, like that's all automated for me at this point. So at 10 a.m. the morning of, they check in. This is the actual address. This is the kind of directions depending on where you're coming from. If you have any questions, reach out to me. But I also want to make sure, on a personal level, that they feel like they can reach out to me in any sort of given point. And so every time somebody books something, I'll be like, it depends. If they're showing up that day, I probably won't. But for me, our thought process is I'm not trying to get off of Airbnb, but I'd love a repertoire of people that we can have in case something like that were to happen, where we can get them off the app and get them directly to come to us. And send us checks directly, so we have a little bit more of a steady stream of consistent renters. I would love to have 12 families a year that I rent to rather than people on Airbnb. And that means, they're always enjoying the same house. We know their dogs. I would love that. That's more of a hospitality thing than a real estate business to me. And I think that that's part of the piece where, you kind of have to do a little bit more work. And also the cleaner piece, there's probably some automation I could do associated with that. But luckily for us, we have people book most of the time a month out or more. So it just at the end of the month, we'll say, hey, this is the schedule, clean on these days. So that's good. And my other buddy, he does a little bit more of the local maintenance because he's a little bit more local. But he's the one that coordinates a little bit with like the grass cutter. We have a hot tub, so we have a hot tub cleaner come out. So there's some things that we just want to make sure that are always kind of clean and up. So that way we're not trying to be like slumlords, right? We're trying to make sure everything's looking nice, and we would want to stay there too, right? In fact, my buddy does stay there pretty regularly. Him and his wife just had some friends stay over this past weekend, and they had a blast. And I was actually going to stay during Thanksgiving, but 2 days before Thanksgiving, somebody rented it out for 4 days. So I was like, well, we can make $1,200, $1,300, or I could go down to the beach for a couple days and spend some time. And I was like, well, it's a 2-hour drive. I'd be down there by myself, so I'll just have somebody rent it out for $1,200. And that was kind of the end of that. But I don't know. It's kind of cool having a free beach house if we ever decide to use it.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. I probably just don't have the patience for something like that these days. Rentals, I'm over it. I'm done with it. The notes at this point, I mean, that's about as passive as you get when it comes to real estate.
Right.
But I'm done with those at this point too. Once they all get paid back, I won't be doing those anymore either. I have another thing I'll be doing instead, but and I'll keep my real estate relatively low probably, and it'll probably just be in a tax deferred account too.
Right.
But maybe going to you go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, my vision for it is I really only have them in places that I would want to go, right? Like I wouldn't buy one in middle of nowhere, Missouri, because I'm probably never going to go to Missouri, right? So, and it's the same sort of thing that you and I talked about, right? Like I wouldn't mind. I've never been to Thailand or I've never been to the Philippines, but I could vision myself probably getting lost there for a couple of years and not wanting to ever come back to the United States. And if that was the case, I know I couldn't actually own property because our property law is a little bit different, but I could lease it for 99 years, if that makes sense, I think, in some of these places. So if that was the case, I would probably buy some places in Indonesia or the Philippines or Vietnam if I fell in love with a place, and rent it out for however many of the months per year and have this beautiful home that I can have and friends can go to. It might be a little bit more difficult because obviously going to Indonesia is a little bit harder to plan than going to New Jersey. But if I were to be something that it would be there for a month or two a year and I could rent it out the other 10 or 11 months, I mean, that would be prime. And my hope would be is that I have a few places, 10 or so places in the world that I would want to do that in. And I could potentially do that in my 40s and 50s. And anyway, just some thoughts, but that's all dreams. And if it actually comes to fruition,
Well, it's good to have options. So pivoting over to I haven't looked at your portfolio in a while, but the last time I did look at it, I think it was the last video you made actually on portfolio. So you pretty much copied me, did all SPY.
I'm full port Palantir. That's what it is.
What made you go the SPY route, I guess?
You and I talked about it. I mean, it's to the point where it was fun learning about individual stocks, and sometimes I would do really well with them, sometimes I wouldn't. And I think part of it was the portfolio kept going into this weird expansion of positions and contraction of position, expansion and contraction, expansion, contraction. And it would go from like 40 positions down to 25, and then it'd go back up to 35 positions. And to the point where I was just like, you know what? There's really only a few stocks that I truly want to get detailed enough in And it's still not perfect, right? So I still have individual positions in Google, Amazon, a lot of companies that could be potentially just under the umbrella of the S&P 500. But it was something where I was just like, I'm just going to put and park money into that and let that do its thing. And if I want to speculate on a few positions and have them be 4 or 5% of the portfolio, I can concentrate strictly on those things rather than wearing myself out across, say, 40 different positions. And then I also came to another conclusion of like, when I was having a very successful year in 2021 with YouTube and having some other kind of like sponsorship income that was kind of coming in, what I recognized was I can make more money in an hour or two doing some of those offhanded hustle like things than I could do if I were to spend an hour or two focusing on the stock market. So if I spend an hour or two, I'm not going to make $2,000 doing some small work here or there by looking at my position in Google or anything like that, right? It's just not going to be there. So to me, it's almost just like put that piece on autopilot, let that do its thing. Don't lose out on the opportunity cost. Keep up with inflation, because to me, inflation really or the value of the dollar. I say inflation. The value of the dollar really is dependent on how the S&P 500 is doing. To me, right? Like if I don't look at it as like, oh, inflation's 2%. It's like the S&P 500 is returning on average 7 to 8% per annum. So it's like, to me, that's the benchmark, not the keep up with the 2% inflation benchmark, right? So if you're not beating that, then we've kind of talked about this, and Warren talks about it. A bunch of people talk about it. It's like, just park your money there. So that's pretty much what I'm doing now, and trying to figure out and spend more time on the Palantirs, Rocket Lab, some speculative positions that I think could have outsized returns. Whether they go to zero, that's fine, because I'm not putting $500,000 into them. I'm putting, $50,000-$60,000 into them. If they went to zero, I'd be upset, but I wouldn't be under a bridge, and that's
AMC or whatever you were.
Yeah. So like, that's kind of the thought, is like, if they become outsized returns, I could sell portions of them, move into the S&P, and the S&P is just going to be a piggy bank. Basically, if I see a really good opportunity, maybe I'll sell portions of my S&P and move it over. But that's kind of the thought.
Are you just kind of got away from doing dividends for now, or are you going to go back to them as a retirement option, or are you going to sell SPY every year? What are you going to try to do?
I mean, the thought process now is really, I think the income will be there. I'm just going to be blunt, right? Whether that's through my share-based compensation through UDOC, or whether that's my income from rental properties that I'm going to continue to invest in. I mean, if I needed to, say I were to lose my job tomorrow, I'd hopefully get a nice severance check. But if I didn't, I could always move my things back into some of these higher paying dividend companies. And that's kind of the thought process that I had, where I was investing in these companies planning for something that may or may not ever happen. But in reality, if I got to the place where I'm making, let's just say I had $5 million in SPY, that would be enough.
It's a moot point then.
Exactly. And it's like, it's kind of getting to that place where, if I were to consolidate all my positions that aren't Palantir, Rocket Lab, the speculative shit, into SPY, I mean, we're talking
That's
about
the goal. The goal is to live off the SPY dividends, because it's 1.5%, right? So $1 million would get you at 15,000. But I mean, obviously, there's going to be money on the tax deferred side. You're not going to be able to get out. So you got to somehow bridge the gap between until you get to that age, right?
True, but I would say like 70% of my money right now is outside of retirement accounts.
Yeah, I'm probably the same way, because I'm always maxing the 401k out now, but back in the day, I didn't know what was going to happen. The government, right?
Yeah.
You never know what the hell they're going to do.
100%.
So I was just putting in like $10,000 or something like that, $20,000, $15,000. I don't know what it was for a long time. I just make sure I always get the match, of course. But you know, I mean, that worked out well for me back then because I wasn't getting paid as much or something, maybe. But now it's like, I need as much tax break as I can get. But
Right.
and I don't mind building up that side. I think I have enough on this side, and I'm still saving a bunch of after-tax money anyway, so it's a win-win at this point. But yeah, I'm right there with you. 5 million in SPY, that's 5 times 15, and obviously there's a bunch on the other side that you can't get out right away, but I mean, I'm living on $24,000 a year here. Come on.
Yeah.
And I'm right there with you. It's about enjoying your life more, spending a little bit more money, to and that's the great thing, because nobody really talks about this. If you have a higher salary, then you can save big, invest big, but still enjoy. You don't really have to scrape by. You know what I mean? Like, oh God, I'm saving every penny to try to get to FIRE, right? No, you can kind of have both worlds, right?
Yep.
You can enjoy the more, luxury things, but then again, I have a 2005 car I've had since 2009, and you got Win Lembo here, right? I mean, I've been putting stuff off like that because it just seems like, oh, that's money I can make money on, but
I mean, as long as you're having fun and you feel like you're happy and you don't feel like you're wanting, I think that's the most important piece. I mean, you are doing really well for your age bracket, and obviously you're a high income earner. So, that $500 a month car payment for you, Hot Dave, isn't gonna really.
I'm not a car payment. What are you talking about? I pay cash for the thing. What are you talking about?
If money's cheap enough, it goes back down to 4 or 5% interest rates. I mean,
it goes back down to 2 or 1, maybe. Yeah. No, so foreigners can own condos in the Philippines. Airbnb used to be good there, but it's oversaturated. Yeah, I mean, property used to be cheap in Costa Rica too, but that stuff shot up big time there.
Yeah, quick. Last 2 years, it's been pretty crazy. So when is the new retirement date, Dave?
Well,
you shouldn't say because you're employed now.
No, I can. Yeah, that's fine. I'm transparent.
I know you had it on your video, but I just
I don't have it off the top of my head. It's January 28th, 2028.
So 5 years.
Let me see. I mean, obviously, if I get pissed off or something like that, I can just quit again. But.
And is that a number that you want to hit, or is that a...
Yeah, 28, sorry. Yeah, 1/28/2028. No, it has nothing to do with a number. It has something to do with my brother being old enough. He'll be retired, just retired. And, I mean, there's nothing, I mean, I kind of talked about it last weekend, but there's just, nobody's retired. Nobody I know, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that'll be a big, I'm kind of getting, once you take 10 months off and like a little mini retirement, and you come back, like 4 years seems like nothing. You know what I mean? That's how it feels.
Yeah.
For somebody that's been working for 30 or 40 years, I bet you that 4 years feels like a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But.
Yeah, no,
So
I put my head down. Like I've only been working for 10 years now, but I'll put my head down, and next thing you know, I'm like 6 months down the road. It's like, what the fuck? Like, you do 1 or 2 projects, and next thing you know, you're 6 months down the road, and you had no idea where the time went, right?
It gets worse the older you get. It's like a roll of toilet paper.
Yeah. It's the roll of toilet paper. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I don't know. I mean, that's pretty crazy. But the SPY thing, I want to kind of go back to that. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities you can do with that. I mean, just the covered call income alone isn't awful either. That
I haven't been doing cover calls on my SPY because every time it makes like, I'm like, I'm pretty sure we're going to get to a high we had just here back in July or whatever, right? And we're already there, right? 460. And I'm thinking, well, we're 460. We're just in December now. We got the Santa Claus rally. We got the end of the year. I don't think tax loss harvesting is going to be that big because we didn't really have any big losses, right? I'm like, I bet you we pushed to the 2021 highs that we had. And that was like 470-ish, something like that. I bet you we test those numbers. That's probably when I'll sell 20 contracts against SPY, right at probably $5 higher, maybe. But I could be wrong, and I might just shoot way past it.
Yeah. I mean, you're not doing like the 5 delta. Well, you always do the 5 delta like a month out, right?
So here's what happened. I did a bunch of SPY contracts back when we got up near the 460 the last time, right? I did the 450s when we were lower, and I was down 10 grand on those positions. Now, I mean, granted, it's not really I'm down, right? But the way I looked at it is I could have made 10 grand if I had just waited. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's the way I looked, because it ended up coming back and the position wasn't called away or anything like that because it wasn't in the money, right? I think I ended up pocketing like 2 grand or something like that. But still, I looked at it as like I could have made 10 grand off of those instead of 2. So that's the reason why I'm like kind of waiting right now, because I'm pretty sure we'll get back up to 470.
Yeah, the way I look at it is like, I get it. If it blows through, that's the thing. It's like I always kind of look at the 5 delta, and I do weeklies. I don't do monthlies. So I'm thinking it's like, okay, it can only go through 2 standard deviations of moves so many times, right? So it's like I was with you. I was underwater in that time frame on Amazon and Google and SPY, but none of them got called away because I kept doing the 5 delta and just kept living and rolling through time. Now, it depends on if you're in an individual stock. Like, I don't think it'll ever come. It's like there's some stocks that might not ever come back down, right? But I think as a SPY, it's so much of a piece of the economy. There's 500 stocks in there. I think eventually, it's never going to
have worked in November.
I mean, I wrote contracts in November and I didn't get any called away.
Well, you're just doing a week out?
I'm doing a week out.
Okay, gotcha.
And I do that for some companies. Like most of my individual stock positions, I'll do the 5 delta on a monthly basis, but something like that's a little bit more volatile, like a Palantir, things that'll move like 20% in a day for some stupid reason. Nobody really can foresee why. I'll generally only do weeklies on.
Well, part of the thing is we wouldn't expect SPY to move 9% in 1 month, right? That's the problem, because if you had sold them, you would have most likely caused your shares to be taken away. And I don't have a problem with that unless it's in a taxable account. So I'm real careful in that account because I don't need any big losses from. I don't. It's not a loss. It's just a big old taxable event, right? If you go out on SPY, let's just say December. Well, actually, it would have to be January 12th. So what is it? You're doing 5%. So 5% or 5 delta.
January 12th. Why would you do January 12th?
Because it's 40 days out. So a 5 delta is 42 cents. It's just not worth it for me at 42 cents. And the problem is the VIX has just dropped big time too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, personally, what I'd be looking at is, and I think I have, which they might get called away. I think I have the 467s or something for next week, for next Friday, I think.
Oh, but when did you sell those? Okay, so it's a $6 or $7 move. I mean, what percentage is that? So let's just say 459 by 167. I mean, it's a slightly less than a 2% move. I don't think it'll probably do that in a week at this point because we're long in the tooth. I mean, it's probably going to go up, but I just don't think it's going to do 2% in a week. Wait, I'm sorry, that's not in a week. Never mind. I'm looking out January. So you're talking about That's my bad there. So you're talking about like what, December what?
December 8th.
Oh man, yeah, this ain't worth crap. 42 cents.
Okay.
So
It's $200 for me.
well, I mean, I guess if
That's
you
what I
sold
wrote them at.
it's $400. $400 for $400. I guess it's
Yeah, I sold the 467s. I'm down on them, but
yeah. What you're doing is I'm trying to be a little more passive with it, but I mean, it might be easier to plan doing it that way though, like because it's still a 2% move, but slightly less than 2%. But yeah, there's $400. There is some. Let me see. There's going to be questions here. Let's see.
Did you buy any TQQQ, Dave?
Had I not been hiking the trail last year, I probably would have bought some because did you?
I still have a lot of it.
You still do? Oh wow.
I have like 60 grand worth, and it's
Yeah,
it's about break even actually.
You and I had talked about that it was Jerry. You and I talked about it like I don't know what year or two ago, and it's like, oh man, if the market ever drops 40 or 50%, just dump it all on TQQQ.
Yeah.
So you buy a lot of it last year?
I bought a lot in late 2021, and I bought every once in a while in 2022. So my break even is about $46 or something on it. So I mean, if we continue up, then and I'm just writing cover calls on it on a weekly basis for TQQQ. So
yeah, I mean it's up 155% year to date.
Yeah,
it's
crazy. I wish I was a little bit more aggressive with it, but instead I was buying. Last year I was buying huge into Amazon and Google, which has turned out to be a good return for me. Like my cost basis on my Google shares, while they're not great, it's $98. So can't complain with a $98 cost basis on Google.
No, I mean, yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But Rebecca's like, "Hi, Dave and Matt. Glad to see you both. Catching up, Dave. How are you? I'm great, Rebecca. Watch the stream from last weekend, Rebecca, because that one I went into a little more details about, just a little more details about coming back and whatnot."
So you're 100%. You're 100% SPY, right? I mean, going back to last week,
I have like 100K in Jeppy.
God damn it!
That's it. I mean, I still love Jeppy. Jeppy is still my number one ETF to make income.
Why Jeppy instead of Diva? Because Jeppy has returned better in terms of capital appreciation.
Because I feel like Jeppy it gives you the best of three worlds, right? It's somewhat defensive. You're going to get some growth out of it. It's income as well. So, and it's, it's really good. I mean, Devo's just a little, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know if it's more risky, but it's a subset of stocks, right? Like a real subset of stocks.
So it requires active management versus Jeppy. It's like more of like a subset of the S&P 500. So it's a little bit more passive in that respect.
Yeah, I still like Devo. Yeah. I mean, I would have no problem throwing a large chunk of change in there, but it's just, I think Jeppy is still the go-to for me if I want to actually have income Jeppy is actually doing relatively okay this year. All things considered, it's flat, right? I mean, the other thing is people say, oh, yeah, it's flat, right? But look at SCHD, down 3%, right? You got the lack of tech in there. So, I mean, people, when SCHD is doing well, people are all, oh, SCHD, so you can't win, right?
Yeah. So why not TSLY, Dave?
Why what?
Why not TSLY?
Oh, I don't even know that. I think that one came out when I was on the trail. I don't even know about that thing.
You don't know anything about it?
No. Why don't you educate these people?
Don't do it, man. That's all I know. It's basically the same thing as a Jeppy and Devo, except the underlying is Tesla. And so as you would expect, people are thinking that they're going to get their cake and eat it too, where they're going to be able to get 100% Tesla returns and get 50% Tesla dividends, basically. So we'll see how it goes. And they have some on Nvidia, they have some on Meta, they have some on a lot of different companies now. So
What else are they going to come out with?
dude,
I got a Cybertruck ETF or something. Try being 70 and wondering where the time went. Yeah, it's like I said, it's a roll of toilet paper. It's, man, I mean, I'm not 50 yet, but I'm creeping up on it quickly. So it goes by fast, Matt.
yeah, it's hard to say sometimes that I'm 32. So I'm sure I'm going to say even worse things when I get into my 40s.
Yeah, it definitely, that decade wasn't that. It's the 30s seem pretty long. The 40s go by quicker. The 50s even go by faster, I'm sure. The older you get, the faster it goes. That's why it's a roll of toilet paper. If you want a higher dividend that still has some dividend growth, check out these. Yeah, I've heard of PEY.
I think PEY is a GW special, isn't it?
I think it is. Yeah. I don't know about DHS. I don't know if I've looked at that one.
You did get a really good question earlier in the chat, which I'm also very curious about because I know I was a very avid listener. When is the Hot Dave GW Weekly coming back?
I talked about that last week, and just
and have you talked to?
I just don't have the time to dedicate to that every week.
It doesn't have to be every. I mean,
yeah, I mean it could be. I already talked to Jerry. Jerry probably come back. Actually, I don't know if I talked to Jerry yet. I mean, I'm talking about like one time or something like that. I mean, I'm busy. He's busy. It's just, my job is a little. It's it's more demanding than it was because I'm at a slightly different job. But
the pandemic was a very unique time.
Yeah,
we were able to dedicate a lot more because we were at home a lot more of the time, and so for me, I had to go into the office. You probably are fully remote still, yeah?
Oh yeah, I'm not going to office. What are you talking about?
Hot Dave, man. But yeah, I mean, one of these days I'll have to come down and bug you because you're only 45 minutes away from me, so you probably don't want to meet me. You're like, oh, you don't want this guy knowing where I live, where
yeah,
my RV is.
We can meet up at some point.
Meet up at an undisclosed location so I don't come harass you in the middle of the night.
Yeah, we'll make sure that we blindfold you.
Oh, you know who would love to probably see you is All Good.
Yeah, I don't know. All Good's a ghost right now. She's been disappeared, but she probably, I don't know what she's up to. I haven't talked to her in a long time. I think she showed up in the Discord though.
Did she?
Yeah.
Maybe reach out to her. I'm sure she'd love to see you.
When's the Dave Jerry Sunday night chit chat reboot happening? Yeah, like I said, Greyhawk, Jerry's got a job. I got a job. I mean, and I had a job before. It's just now it's a little bit, in the summer it's loud in here. I don't know if it's going to happen. It's a lot of time. I think once in a while I can make it happen. Just like it's happening tonight with, good old Matt over here. Hot Matt.
Far from, man.
Fat dividend growth over the last 3 months. PY. That might be a Jerry special. Any opinion on yield max? Yeah. What's going on with the yield max? That's like a new term I've.
That's the TSLYs, NVIDIA, the covered call ETFs on all these individual high volatility stocks. Yeah, I don't know.
What's the expense ratios on those?
Let me see what TSLYs is. I think it's 99.99%. Yeah, 0.99. So just under 1%.
And they pay daily. They pay weekly.
Nightly at 4 p.m. No, they pay. It's a good question. I don't know if they pay on the 15th or the 1st. Let's see. TSLY dividend payout. They pay on the 15th.
15th.
monthly.
Ooh.
So I mean, they can be pretty good. 58 cents the past few months.
It's not for me. I know. I mean, it's so, it's probably for dark dividend, but I mean, it's definitely not for me.
When are you doing a stream with good old Darth?
That's a good question. I can roast him. Does he ever do streams?
Oh, yeah, he's a pretty big advocate of streams, and he has quite a following on X these days.
Yeah, I'll make sure I get him a White Claw.
Yeah, the claws. Ain't no laws when you're drinking White Claws.
That's a negative, Raymond. I'm in a tax-free state. Dave, what made you want to go back to work? I remember a while back it sounded like you wouldn't want. Yeah, that was the plan. I talked about it in last week's stream, but I mean, I can just mention it real quick. So I hiked the trail. I took 10 months off of work, and then I bought this RV, which is a money pit, 45-foot bus. And, I just like, it was kind of just timing, it was somebody retiring at the job that I had worked and supported before, and then they needing the help and then paying me an obscene amount of money, right? So it was just the perfect storm. But the good thing is I can quit anytime I want, and taking 10 months off, it's like this year flew by. So I'm sure next year will go by a little bit slower, but I can stick it out a few more years while I'm, at the peak of my, what's the word? I mean, peak of my career field at this point. I came back for Social Security. No, I did the numbers on that just to let you know, Matt. It doesn't make any, like, if I work from now to age 65, making what I make now, because I mean, actually, whatever the max is that Social Security is, right? I think it's like 168 this year or something. But if you just make the max of Social Security the rest of my until 65, it's like $200 a month difference. That's it. Otherwise, other than having zeros, if you didn't work, so Social Security is insignificant when it comes to.
I have some thoughts about that. I mean, I think a lot of people say they're going to delay it, and unfortunately,
I'm talking about just putting, instead of having zeros, you have income for those years, let alone waiting till full retirement age or 65, which I guess is full retirement age. But well, I wouldn't probably take it to 62, but still.
I mean, the thought process is like I've known now, unfortunately, my brother passed away in 2020, and then my father passed away in 2021. So it's like my dad, you know how many Social Security checks my dad was able to get? One.
How old was your dad?
66.
You got one?
You got one.
One.
He retired, and then the next month, I think he retired in July. And by the time October came around, he died actually before he got his first Social Security check. And so my mom fought tooth and nail. She was like, just out of principle, I want that fucking check. So, I'm not saying that to, be like, oh, Matt, I'm sorry. I'm saying I'm using this as a lesson for everybody. My mom talks about this as well. That's your money. You paid into it. So make sure that you get it.
That's
right?
very true. Yeah. Most people, the majority of people take it at 62 anyway.
Right. No, I agree. But I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you think about how much money I'm sure my father had put in, how much my brother had put in, and both of them are going to get zero basically for
that's that money keeping it alive for everybody else.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's what the game is freaking kind of banking on, right? They want you to die the minute you retire.
Yeah, exactly. But I always kind of think about, like, why aren't we more like the Norwegian sovereign fund of like just having all this money that we've invested in our own economy, but instead we invested in probably T-bills and God knows what else as a piggy bank if the money's even really there. But I do have a question for you, Hot Dave. you mentioned, and then I got on the flight, so you might have explained it a little bit better. And I didn't ask you on Thursday. What caused you to cancel your trip to Thailand? Was it just social anxiety? You just didn't want to spend the time?
You didn't watch the playback, did you?
No, I didn't. I didn't finish it. I was on the flight, and then I lost Wi-Fi, so I couldn't watch the rest of like the hour and a half that you had.
So, long story short, when I got back from the trail, my stomach wasn't feeling.
That's right.
It was just, it was eating 6 months of junk food, basically. My body was just like not really liking the adjustment. So when I had booked the plane tickets to Thailand and had the villa set up for a month, I just canceled it last minute. I'm like, I can't sit on a flight for 15 hours. All like, it's like, so I just canceled it.
Was it really, was your stomach that bad? I know you've always had kind of like a soft stomach, so
it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad, yeah, when I got back.
Sorry to hear that. Like almost hospitalization bad or no?
No, I wasn't hospitalization. Okay. Yeah, I'm probably a good 80% of the way back to where I was. Yeah.
All because of the bacon or?
Bacon. No, just eating better.
Greek yogurt and all that.
No, I don't touch Greek yogurt, but I mean, yeah, I just eating better, like, no pesticides and or organic, when possible and stuff. Don't really eat out much, but I had a lot of inflammation in my gut, so it's just I had a lot of kimchi or sauerkraut and stuff like that. That's basically what happened. Yeah,
man. So when are you doing it? Are you doing it this year, next year?
No. I mean, I could technically probably work anywhere, although it's like
frowned upon.
You're gonna be up at like 4 a.m. working or something, you know what I mean? Because you got to support a time zone here,
Yeah. I don't know, Hot Dave. I think you should do it.
Phrase yourself out as you age, or sorry. They changed the font on this, so it's hard to read it. Phase yourself out as you age. Find something you enjoy to do. I teach college part-time. It was great till C19. Yeah. Caused a huge drop in enrollment. Yeah, no, I mean, I think we all there'd probably a lot more businesses had people not worked, right? Because they'd be probably creating some sort of business out of their hobby would be turned into a business or whatever. But people are just, it's the machines, the cog in the wheel. We're just machines.
Yeah, cog in the wheel. We definitely understand that a little bit more. Do you have any gold, Dave? Somebody's asking about gold. I've been talking about it a little bit.
Got Cody here. Anyone like BDCs? I don't. I'm not against them. I just, yeah. You got any BDCs?
I used to have Main Street Capital, but when that went to $40 or $45, I was like, I don't think this is going to double. So I was like, the dividend is nice, but I'd rather look for something that it can grow over time at a better tax. So, the problem with BDCs is the high dividend, and so you end up paying a shit ton in taxes associated with a lot of that stuff. So for me, I'd rather have some of my growth associated with just capital appreciation for now, because I am in a high tax bracket.
Yeah, you need every tax break you can get. You're going to be paying that good old Obamacare at $200K plus. It's like, so. Welcome.
Well, the last few paychecks have been bigger because I've maxed out on whatever tax. I forget what tax it is that, like, once you pay over once you get over a certain salary or something or income for the year, you stop having to pay it. I forget which one it is, but
yeah, that's Social Security.
It's Social Security.
It's capped at 168 something this year, so.
Yeah.
That's one way they could fix Social Security too, is by just removing the cap, put it up to 400K or something like that. Because that'll, I mean, it's a Ponzi scheme anyway, right? Because the more money you take, the less you get from Social Security, right? Because the 3 bend points in it. So that last like third bend point if you're making 400K or something like that, I mean, it's capped at 168, but those people that make the max their entire life, they're going to get the most out of Social Security, but it's not going to make a huge difference, right? So somebody that made, say, $50,000 in their entire life might get $1,200. Somebody that made, say, 150 their entire life might get $2,500. That person that made 400K is only going to get like 4,700 or something like that. Or if they made millions of dollars every year, like it's capped, right? They pay in the most, but they get the least amount, even though it's a higher check. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's socialism too. But anyways, let's see what else we got here. Anyone? Okay, we already talked about that one. So Matt, your mom should have got a bump in her Social Security, and she has survivor benefits or something from that, doesn't it? Don't she?
I don't know. I'll have to ask her.
I think she does, but gold. No, I don't own any silver anymore. I sold all my 500 ounces I had. Yeah, I don't own any gold either.
I forgot you had a lot of gold or silver. What'd you do? Did you just put that in SPY?
Yeah, no, I bought bullets instead.
Hell yes.
No, I mean, bullets are actually a better investment probably, but they don't go bad. And of course, gold and silver doesn't either, but it has really the same value, really. Matter of fact, I'd almost say bullets have more value if shit hits the fan, right?
Yeah,
so,
no, I had that conversation. I don't want to say too much about my sister's business, but I told her straight up, I was just like, I prefer you guys have some weapons for personal defense in case things ever hit the fan. And I took her shooting when I was up for Thanksgiving, and I was like, I just want to make sure that if anything ever happens, that you guys have some stuff that you can run away with and be at least able to protect yourselves for a few days, So that to me is something that I believe in. I without getting too deep into it, living in Houston during some of the floods and some of the looting that I saw, I always just want to make sure that, it's at that point, their survivorship over my survivorship. And if somebody tries to break into my home, good luck.
Yeah, shots fired. Yeah, no, I mean, it's just the only thing you can do with gold and silver in a situation like that is you can try to buy safety or try to buy some firearms, right? I mean, to protect yourself. You don't already own something, right? But bullets, I'm sure they're going to put a premium at that point. Like nobody's going to want to get rid of them. They're going to probably ask a fortune for them. So it's better to. I think bullets are actually a better investment than gold and silver, but it is what it is. I will pretty much bank that I'll never buy gold and silver ever again in my life. It was tough to own it as long as I did. So I bought most of it. I didn't even own it that long. I think it was just a couple of years, but still, like my brother got stuck in that since 2011, back when with silver was like $42 an ounce, $50 an ounce or something like that. And then it went down and, it's stuck in it, So yeah, I just will never do it again.
If I were, it wouldn't be strictly for the value of the silver. It would be for the collector's value, because at least what I've seen is over time, if you're just doing like face value silver, that's the speculative piece. But if you're talking about the collectible value of some of these things, once you buy all the 2015s, like the circular, once they kind of get rolled out, it's like very few are liquid on the marketplace. And so people will pay a premium so that they do become liquid, right? So I was looking at something like the 2015 Chinese Panda or something that's going for like $45. It's like, well, that's almost 100% above spot price. So if you think about it, it's like, you hold some of these things for enough time, the collector value of them is going to be up there. And that's probably more of the benefit of it than the actual silver value itself personally. But so yeah, if I were to ever start stacking any sort of silver or anything like that, it would probably just because I like the design, and it'd probably be like kookaburras or something like that, silver kookaburras. Anyway, I think that's the
Are
Australian.
you doing any more TFTs or whatever the heck they're called? You pull you out of that?
Oh, NFTs.
NFTs. Sorry, yeah. I've been out of investing for a year.
I have a lot. I have some still. I think I made money and I lost money. So there was, I don't know if I showed you the one. I bought a
You
house.
sold your house?
Yeah, I bought like a fake house, and then
Snoop Dogg's neighborhood?
I don't know what it was, but then I think I bought it for like 250 or $500 or something. I don't remember. And I was just like, you know what? If somebody's willing to buy it, I was like, it's really not a lot of money to me. If somebody's willing to pay this amount of money, then I'm all for it. And I woke up the next morning and I'm like, the hell is all this like money in my account? And I'm like, I'm transferring this as soon as possible. So I think
what did you sell it for?
It's like $8,500, like something.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. And then I think so I'm not going to lie. I didn't take all of it. I think I bought another one for, I don't know, maybe like 500 or 1,000. I don't remember. And I still have it. Maybe somebody bought it. I really don't know.
Did you put it up for sale?
Yeah. I mean, I tried doing the same thing. So I was just like, well, it's like, I'm going to take a lot of this. I forget what I put the money into. I could probably look at my tweets and find out, but I was like, okay. So I think that probably covered all the losses that I had, because there was a couple other ones that I spent some money on, and I could sell those for probably 50% of what I put into them. But overall, I made money on it. It was fun. Yeah.
That's crazy. Just somebody really wanted that property for some reason, huh?
I don't really know. I mean, it was a very hyped up project with a lot of visibility on it, and it was a new currency that people were starting to hype up. So I think it was, I don't want to say it was a perfect storm, because if it was a perfect storm, it would have been worth hundreds of thousands, right? And it was only worth $8,500, but still like $8,500, right? So I think it was $500 near the currency was near token or something like that, and I forget, it was trading at like, I don't remember what the price of near token was at that point. And yeah, I wonder, it's probably the highest sale for that particular NFT, and then prices really started getting hit after that, because 2022, obviously everyone knows crypto kind of got hurt pretty bad, but maybe it's back up, because crypto is picking back up. Bitcoin's over 40 grand.
It has a little bit, yeah. I'm looking at it right now. We're at, it's up 5% right now. 4,100.
41,000.
Yeah, 4,100. Or sorry, 41,000. Yeah.
If it goes to 1 million, Dave, I'm buying more beach houses, and I'm buying our house.
I'm gonna come live with you then.
Yeah, you can do that now. You got your RV though.
Don't you have a driveway?
Not that big.
No.
That'll be the hope next time. I live in a basically as a townhome. It's called a patio home, I guess, because technically I don't share walls. But I basically said I'm going to buy this for 5-10 years down the road when I eventually turn it into a rental property. If I'm still living in Houston, my thought process is I'll either go international again and have to rent it out, or in 5-10 years, if I'm still working, I'll probably end up buying a different home and living in that one, because this house is great. I don't have a problem with it, but I prefer kind of like all my living to be done on one floor. I'd kind of want my master and stuff. I don't mind having bedrooms upstairs, but I'd prefer them to be like guest bedrooms and stuff like that. Whereas right now, like my master's upstairs, my office here is upstairs. I'd kind of prefer to have more space, because it's kind of I don't really have a lot of space in the backyard. It's enough for like a couple seats and a smoker, and that's pretty much it. It's not really any space for like a dog to run around or anything like that. So eventually I'd like to buy a house that has a little bit more land to it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Yeah, bourbon, alcohol is probably not a bad thing to stack either. Medical supplies, yeah. She should be getting monthly checks in his, yeah.
I don't know.
Physical gold ETF. Yeah, I'm not a gold and silver person. I'm not saying, I mean, they just push these commercials big time, and I don't think it's an investment. It's just a hedge against inflation. But there's other things you can do other than that, you know? So.
I just don't like how the commission is so expensive, right? Like
for gold and silver?
The bid and ask is like, oh, well.
Oh, well, yeah, I took mine to like a gold and silver place, you know, and he had a pretty good, the guy was chill. This guy was super cool. He was in Colorado, and the guy was like, I call him up. I'm like, you buying silver? He's like, every day. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, I got to wear a mask in there? He's like, no. This is back during COVID. He's like, no, I don't care. But if other people in here and it's like they want you to wear one, then then you have to put one on. But it's like, I don't care. I'm like, great. Took all of me, just weighed a couple of them. He's all right, this is good. I'm like, he even gave me the spot price, and he's like, call around anywhere in the city, and I'll beat their price if they can beat me. So anyways, the guy was cool. Like that, he was old school. You can totally tell he had been around this stuff his entire life.
Interesting. Yeah, some of those guys, they hustle. Sometimes they own pawn stores because they're there anyway, right? Like, so I'll never forget, like I went into, just because I was curious at the time, buying gold and silver. This is before I kind of like wrote it off. I never owned any really, other than stuff that has been given to me as gifts. But I remember going in there and I had my fake watch that, you know, I wear from time to time. And the guy was just, my Folex, and the guy was like, how much you want for it? And I was just kind of curious because I had bought it probably 2 or 3 years before then. And he was just like, so I'll give you $6,500 for it. And I was like, So it's a little bit less than I would want, right? I'd probably want closer to what I bought it for. But
is it a Submariner?
Yeah, Submariner.
Okay. Does it have a date on it?
Yeah, it's a Submariner date. Yeah, I know it's worth way more than that now. This is back, probably 7 years ago.
In 2008, during that, I could have bought one for about $3,100, and $6,500 was about what they were going for. Just, you know, not that long ago for it. I don't know. So you're telling me they're higher than that now?
I bought mine in 2013 for. It was either 85 or 8,700. That was pre-tax. So I think it ended up being like 9,300 after tax.
That's crazy. Yeah, I'm so glad I don't look good with watches, because I bought a fake Rolex once, right? I bought it when I was working a guitar for like $100. I mean, it looks like it's legit, man. It has the the green sticker on the back. It looks, but the second like moves like this, so I'm like, yeah, that's the only giveaway, right? But while I was wearing it around, that fake Rolex made me realize that I don't want a real one because it looks so stupid on me. But you have a big wrist, I'm sure, compared to me. So
I'm just a big fat dude. So I'm trying to think. Is it?
You've got a bigger wrist than I have. I got a really dainty wrist. So
I don't have it on my desk here. It's in my bathroom, I think. But yeah, I mean, I like them. I mean, they hold their value, right? I mean, that's the thing, is like when you realize some of this stuff, Bitcoin, all this stuff, I mean, you think about it. Imagine trying to move, let's just say, get out of Dodge in America, and you were just trying to wash yourself of all American assets because there's some sort of reason to, right? You just want to get out and move to Thailand and start anew or something like that. It's going to be very difficult to do that in American dollars, right? So you kind of have to have something, and it's going to be difficult to do in gold. It's going to be difficult to do in silver. So when you think about it, I think that's a lot of times why, Indian people and some people in like the Oriental culture are really obsessed with gold and silver jewelry, because they can bring that home. They could buy it, bring it home, and then basically sell that basically as currency almost, and nobody's going to question it. Versus if you bring $10,000 worth of silver, $10,000 worth of gold, you have to declare that stuff. So
no, you bring 9,999.
you
You don't have to
German?
declare that on the customs form,
You're German, Dave?
huh?
You're German?
Yeah, it's 10,000 above. I mean, you can split it out, but I mean, no. If I was going to go live in other countries, the money's going to stay here. It's just you're going to transfer electronically,
Yeah.
right? You know, the dividends get paid in this account, and then from there, you know, the way I set it up is Schwab. I just transfer to my checking account in Schwab right out of the brokerage, right? And then you can use that anywhere in the world, you know. So I mean,
Silly question for you. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off because I did, but
yeah, it's good.
I've been thinking like you've been doing it for an hour and 20 minutes. No, I was kidding. The question I've had, I've always thought about basically making my central account my individual brokerage account and getting all my direct money paid into that, and then moving a set amount for bills and what have you to my checking, like my mortgage and
I do mine the opposite.
okay.
My direct deposit goes into my Schwab checking, and then from there I transfer it into the brokerage.
Okay.
But all
That's
the
how I've
bills
been
come
doing
out
it.
of the check because I don't want a card number attached to my brokerage. I don't want anything attached to that.
That's my fear as well.
Yeah. So I have it there, you know, it's not even a sweep account either. So, I mean, my brokerage has a sweep account. It's just not that checking account, right? So the direct deposit goes in there. And
What
when
do you
I
mean
was
by
living,
sweep? I'm dense. What do you mean by sweep account?
some accounts, like Schwab will have a sweep account. So they'll just, like with the free cash is sitting there, they'll move it to the sweep account, but you don't really see it. It's in the background. And they pay you interest on it. Schwab doesn't pay hardly anything anyway. But it worked out well when I was on the trail. All the dividends coming in, I just like most of it would just get reinvested because but some of the dividends I didn't want reinvested, so I just transferred when I had to, you know, deposit to the HSA or something like that. Boom, it just comes right out of that checking account. And that's you know, I don't care because there's not a lot of money in that account. Like if you know what I mean, like I'm not worried about getting hacked or anything on that. But yeah, I definitely would separate the two. That's the great thing about Schwab is it's right there and it transfers that day, you know, like immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've been thinking about, but
they reimburse you for ATM fees too, worldwide.
Yeah. I think the way that I'm doing it now isn't a big deal. Like I'll put some towards a high yield savings account, and it'll be a couple $100 a pay, and then I just get the majority of my, well, I guess the rest of my pay to my checking, and then whatever's left over at the end of the month, I'll just move into my investment account. So, yeah. Anyway, I was just kind of curious if you did anything different now that you moved off.
Yeah, the only thing I do different is I use that account instead of my JP Morgan account. So, and I like the way that worked. I was kind of setting myself up to travel internationally where they reimburse you for ATM fees and stuff. So, you know, I mean, I lived off the high yield savings account when I was hiking the trail, but you know, that's the cool thing about Interactive Brokers right now, man. It's so 4.8% to not trade, but if you trade options, right, you're still getting paid 4.8% on the money. That's a win-win. That's why I've been so aggressive this year with the options, because you can just open a bunch of, you know, I mean, you can stick out. This is a $2 million, I think. I got portfolio margin. It's like $2 million or something like that. I can leverage, right? But they're still going to pay me interest on the money, the cash that I have in the account.
That's crazy.
You don't.
I don't know.
I don't think you ever used IB, did you?
I tried it when it was like a really speculative account. I think I put like $2,500 in it, and I think I wiped it. I think I got like $400 in it. I think I wrote options on some silly shit, and I think it ended up pretty much wiping it out. But I think there's $400 in there. But I know that Fidelity's paying us 4.99 on our money market, which is pretty good. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're paying interest on the short puts that I'm writing.
Well, should check in to Interactive Broker if you still have your account. Then the other thing is I mean, I got bonds right now, just mostly because I'm getting paid, 5.3 or 5.4% on these T-bills. I'm out about 6 months. I have one basically 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, all the way out, like 8 months or something like that. The interest rates are coming down on their own right now, but the government, they're gonna have to cut the rates probably in 6 months anyway. I don't know. I just mostly was just trying to T-bills out to see how they worked and whatnot. I'm not a big
I did it. It's
fan,
pretty cool. I mean, it's Treasury Direct is a very simple website. I'm assuming that's what you use to do it.
No, I did not do that. I went directly off of
Schwab or...
no, I bought them on Interactive Brokers in that account.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I did mine on Treasury Direct, which was directly from the government, and it was very simple. They only
let you do 10,000 a year, right? I thought was there a limit on those?
That was the I bond.
Oh, the I bonds. Okay. Yeah, I'm doing T-bills.
Did I do the? I did do the I bond. I think that's a good point. I think I put 1,000 or $2,000 into the I bond, which is a good point. I need to check that. And I also don't have that in my portfolio tracker now that you reminded me. But I put like $2,500 into the T-bill thing just to try it out as well. And it's actually pretty interesting. So some of you guys, this is probably preaching to the choir, but basically what you end up doing is like you buy the bond at a discount. So it's like instead of it being $100, you're buying it at like $98 or something like that. And then when they return it to you, they basically like I was doing some that return entirely to me, which then you get the $100 back instead of the 98. Or what I was realizing, if I were to reinvest them, they would basically just give me the $2.98 or $2.80 or whatever, because I was doing 26 week. So basically take the interest rate of like 5.5% divided by 2. And that's kind of what I was getting back to the account. And so I was doing things on like $100 basis, and it was just rolling. And so it was kind of interesting. I'd just see like these random $2 return fees every week. Because there was a time where I was just buying them in $100 tranches, and I was like, next time, just buy another $100. Next time, buy another $100, because I was just curious to see how it worked. And so now I kind of understand how it works. It's like you always think about, okay, I'm going to get this bond, and you're just going to get like a dividend from it. But it's like in reality, it's like when it matures, and they give you back to you like that.
Well, I don't know what you were doing. I'm doing T-bills, but there's T-notes and T-bonds. And the ones I'm doing are just straight interest. So at the end of the term or whatever, they just pay you out. Like I'm doing 10,000 at a time. So instead, I paid like $9,700 for it. They pay me 10,000 to pay it out, and it basically increments every single day. The other ones that you might be talking about, like the T notes and the T bonds, they have a coupon associated. They pay out like interest twice a year. They're a little more complicated, but I don't understand because I've never really been a bond person. They've never really been in favor since in my life, really. So, and they're also state tax free, but not that you got to worry about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's interesting, huh, Dave?
What do we got here? Let's get through some of these, and maybe we'll call it.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. It's getting kind of late for. Yeah, you got work. I got work. We're working, man.
We're working.
Can you get away with digital currency? Yeah. It's probably just going to get worse too. I mean, I don't ever use cash. I want the points on my credit card, so I use credit card for everything I can possibly use it for. Schwab card is fantastic. It's always been reversed. Yep, exactly. Hey, Dave. Just got here. Will you save the watch? Let me see. Just got here. Will you save this to watch the whole thing later? Yeah, this will go. Well, as soon as we're done, it'll get uploaded automatically. I just did a stream on Mass Channel on Thursday, and he took it down. So
YouTube took it down. Yeah.
YouTube. I wouldn't buy bonds in Treasury Direct. I want mine to be liquid. If bonds surge 20% next year, yeah. I just like the convenience to do it on Interactive Brokers. They do charge you $5 commission. That's the reason why I do 10,000 a time, because otherwise it's not worth it. You do a small amount, and that $5 will cut into it.
I didn't realize you'd have to pay $5. That's kind of messed up.
Yeah, that might be I could probably do them on Schwab too, but what Discords are you on now? Yeah, we're just on the same one. We've always been on. Retire with options. So
is Cody still making YouTube content, or?
I haven't looked in a while. Might be Cody. I made it to Jumped In. I got food poisoning the first day. Weather's. So that was my thinking. I'm like, I don't think I can repair my gut over in a country like that. Number one, I just don't know like the standards of it. Not like the FDA is good here, but or the what's the other one? What's the other one that does the check on the meat and stuff? They're not really that good either. But over there, there might not be any regulations at all. They might use pesticide. I don't know. So I just put it off. I'm like, I don't think I can repair my gut over there. Good night, Gary. I didn't notice any commissions on Schwab. Yeah, I didn't. I'm just doing them in my IB account because that's where that options money is. So, hell yeah, Maddie, I enjoyed watching your content with the boys, including financial education. Did you have him on?
I played poker with him last month, actually.
Did you win?
I didn't lose money. I think we bought in. Was it $100?
Did you wear sunglasses?
No, it was actually at his house. It's a nice place in Vegas, man. He was actually really kind, really sweet guy. I think he does a good job. I think a lot of people give him a lot of grief because of what happened with some of his investments, but at the end of the day, he was a really cool guy, really, really hospitable. Met his wife; she's a very sweet woman as well. But I do some streaming with like Amit, Chris. Obviously, you met him the other night, and there's a few other folks, and we were just fortunately decided to do Amit had his birthday in Vegas in October, so I guess a month and a half ago. And Amit has done streams and stuff with Jeremy before, and so he asked if we could come over and hang out. And I fortunately met him, and I've done some streams with him now. And nice guy. He lives in a beautiful home right outside of Vegas.
Well, that's cool. Shout out to the little guys, huh?
Yeah. You too, if you work hard enough, can hang out with Jeremy.
Yeah, I'm not a networker like you. Carnivore diet, yeah, I like the carnivore diet. I don't do the carnivore diet, but I recognize that the value in doing it too, though. But I don't feel like I eat anything that, even though I'm not a carnivore diet, I don't feel like the stuff that I eat hurts it either, though. Like I'm not eating a bunch of bread. I'm not eating a bunch of carbs and stuff. So let's get ready to close this. I guess my last question to you, Matt, is one stock for life. What would you pick?
Full port Palantir, man. No, I'm just kidding. ETF
and ETF either.
And I guess let me ask a follow-on question before I lead people down a rabbit hole. Is this like what my current highest speculation return stock is? Is this the one that I want to guarantee the most safe return for the risk? Any way I want to answer it?
Any way you want to answer it. I mean, like an Amazon or a Google or a Tesla or what would you pick?
It's
a tough one.
It's a tough one. I mean, I would say for now, for the next 5 to 10 years, for life though, shit. I would say Google for now is probably the one that I would say is the safest and likely is.
That's probably the one I was going right in my head.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to bring the safety factor into it, right? Because they're a hugely profitable business. Not only that, but they're less than 2 trillion at the moment, and they're buying back a shit ton of stock. So that's actually going to help move the price as well. So,
But
if
you
you want
also
to,
have to look at like the longevity of it, right? Are they going to become a Kodak, right? I mean, Apple. Neither one of us. That was not coming anywhere near on my list. Not that Apple's not a good company. It's just, you know, I don't think they're going to go. I mean, when's the last time they've actually made anything new, though?
I don't know. I think that Google's still underrated. Google Cloud is starting to get profitable, so you'll see some tailwinds associated with that one in the next coming quarters. So I'm curious to see how that grows into a 40-50 billion dollar run rate business in just a few short years. I'm sure it'll be up there because cloud is still growing at huge rates, 30% year over year for Google.
Well,
And
Google's in a lot of different areas. I mean,
yeah,
I got Google Fi. I mean,
yeah.
they're all over the place.
Yeah, so I think they're relatively cheap. I think YouTube as well is more room to run as well with that, and yeah, I think they're doing a lot of work in AI that I think a lot of people don't really give them credit for. Right? Everyone's always talking about OpenAI and ChatGPT, and I think Google's got a good handle on because you think about it. I mean, all this voice technology, it works better than what Apple's got. So. And I think that there's going to be a huge forefront associated with voice and how we can interact with that from an AI perspective, as we already do. But if you want a little bit more risk, I'd say Palantir is kind of too overvalued at the moment for where it's at. I think it eventually will be a 150 to 200 billion dollar company, but it's already worth 50 billion. It just doesn't make sense at this valuation. So I would stay away from that for now. I like Rocket Lab. If you want something that's more speculative, $2 billion market cap. They've launched successfully over 30.
I mean, if we're just talking like, a small investment for life, I mean, that's one thing. But if you wanted to bank your entire portfolio on one stock, it's not going to be Rocket Labs.
Yeah, Google probably. Yeah. You want a small speculative position then. But otherwise, I would say SPY, or if I were to say want to get speculative, I would say TQQQ. Because I'm very confident.
Yeah, that's an ETF, but yeah.
Yeah.
TQQQ has its place when the market's, in a tizzy, right? I mean, I'm gonna use some TQQQ in my portfolio not if.
You said that last time.
And we have a big drop.
Well, you were on the trail.
I was on the trail. Yeah.
Yeah, you had an excuse. So.
Well, I think that's it, Matt. I appreciate you coming on, spending your Sunday with me. We've been on here for an hour and 40 minutes. I got to get to bed. You probably got to get to bed soon.
I'm a night owl. I'll be up for a little bit, but I know.
Yeah, I'm trying to work on my sleep. That's like one thing that's big on my list is working on my sleep. So appreciate coming on. You can come on anytime you want. I'm not going to do this every week because I just don't have the time to do it every week, but
I get it.
But all right, well,
you're the man. I appreciate you having me on, brother. I'm glad you're back and look forward to your videos.
Yeah, let's do it again. We try to stay in touch. So
yeah, we'll play it by ear.
All right, sounds good. All right, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll see y'all later.
Cheers.
Cheers.